And Statistics Canada has released its latest job data, and the numbers for July far exceed economists' expectations. 75,000 jobs were added last month, a big jump from just over 18,000 added in June. Many of those job gains were in wholesale and the retail sectors. All of this meant the unemployment rate saw a slight drop to 6.4%. For more on what all of this means for Canadians, we are joined by Jim Standford. He's an economist and director at the Centre for Future Work. Nice to have you here, Jim.
Thank you, Leanne.
All right, Jim, so we heard the job data. What do you make of it? What stood out to you, first of all?
Well, it's a big number. It's a great positive number, and it's 3 months in a row, actually, that Canada has created significant numbers of new jobs. So, first of all, it confirms that we are not in a recession. The economy is growing. And it also, I think, positions us quite well versus the United States as we kind of get into the thick of these trade negotiations right now.
Right. It's very interesting because so many people have been talking about affordability concerns and really Canadians feeling strapped. But meanwhile, the numbers are showing that, at least on the job front, things are growing. And
on the wage front as well. We've seen decent wage growth in Canada, still a little bit faster than inflation. This is another positive sign. So the increased purchasing power that workers have is reinforcing that economic growth because consumer spending is stronger as a result.
So we know we added more jobs mostly in wholesale and the retail sectors. And for, years, the last 2 years, we've been talking about how summer jobs have been so difficult to find for young people specifically. What do you make of the numbers today that we're seeing, unemployment kind of drop for young people?
Yeah, young people are kind of the canary in the coal mine when the labor market is in trouble. They're the last hired and the first fired. And we've seen a couple of wicked summers for students who were looking for work. The unemployment rate was very high. This year it's much better. So the youth unemployment rate is about 12.5%. That's down significantly. For returning students who've been looking for work this summer, it's also quite a bit better than the last 2 years. Still a lot of joblessness out there among young people, higher than the average, but much better than it was recently.
Right, and let's talk about how the Canadian economy is doing compared to the American economy. Quite a different picture there. Paint that for us.
Night and day, Leanne. We had a blockbuster positive number. The U.S. economy actually lost jobs in July. They put out two different numbers on the same day based on whatever survey it is. So it's either 23,000 job losses based on a payroll survey or 87,000 job losses based on the broader survey, which is equivalent to how Statistics Canada reported it today. Either way, bad news in the U.S. And I think not just the month's numbers, but the longer-term trend in the U.S. labor market has been quite different than Canada. Since Donald Trump came back in with his trade war and the tariffs and everything else, overall employment in the U.S. has actually been falling, whereas it's been growing in Canada. Real wages in the U.S. are falling. Real wages are growing in Canada. So the assumption that the trade war would kind of put Canada on its knees economically is not panning out.
That is a very interesting take. So do you think we can sustain this momentum heading into the fall, winter, and the next year to come?
Well, there's lots of question marks out there, including the threat of yet another set of tariffs from Donald Trump.
Right.
But the general momentum in Canada, I think at this point is quite positive. So I think we're going to see continued job growth, continued economic growth, and that should give, I think, the Canadian negotiators a bit of confidence when they sit down to talk turkey with the Americans.
Yeah, the Canadians much more resilient than we thought, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
That is Jim Standford. Jim is an economist and director at the Centre for Future Work.